So what are some lessons from homeownership? What are some things that we can learn? How might pathways to homeownership and best practices in housing teach us to advance diversity in clinical trials? First, institutional innovations to reduce the barriers. Some things like the innovative 30-year mortgage tool, or consider Legacy Bank, a minority-owned bank who is doing something rather innovative, only requiring 1% down and support with closing costs. And it's not just because the requirements and regulations are begging them and making them do it. They're competing for business. Another thing is the market doesn't have to do all of this. There are government and nonprofit collaborations, things that we saw in the housing sector, such as HUD offering closing cost assistance and grants, Habitat for Humanity that offers educational opportunities along with low closing, low money down loans. And then institutions can find ways to help. What if we reimagined our inclusion-exclusion criteria? Similar to how the housing industry is done with the mortgage and credit scores. Another thing that we could possibly do is looking at establishing really clear goals. What we've seen in the housing sector, for example, is JP Morgan has made a very clear goal and collaborates with the UNITA's US and the National Urban League with the goal of reaching 40,000 Black and brown families. Can you imagine if we made that kind of ambitious goal? The second one, write this down, is connecting with a deeper purpose. For Black and brown households in the United States, the non-financial reasons to pursue homeownership, self-efficacy, stability, and security matter far more than the financial aspects of homeownership. The feeling of finally saying, I belong. We know that intrinsic motivation is present in clinical trials. How can we connect to that deeper purpose in clinical research? It starts with person-centered care, which means really aligning and taking into account someone's values, what matters to them. And not only that, discussing the goals and pathways forward and supporting them on the journey to achieving those things. And if your team wants to get better there, I strongly recommend Faster Together course created by Vanderbilt on Coursera. Data can help us understand communities' deeper needs. Engaging our sites, obtaining the diversity site assessment tool, and really trying to understand what it takes to enable diversity in clinical trials at the site. 60% of US hospitals are nonprofit status in this country. To retain that status, they're required by law to create and develop community assessments and publish those results. The data is available, and here are some health systems that are actually doing some rather innovative things, like publishing their community action plans and making upstream investments in housing because there's clear links between health and housing. This could be an opportunity of low-hanging fruit for CROs and sponsors to fulfill the diversity action plan requirements. Number 3, show all available inventory and serve all the people. One of the rules of the Fair Housing Act is to show all available inventory. Realtors have to show it. Zillow and Redfin make it even easier. We can do this better in our field. We can better leverage data and tools and technology to serve all the people. If you take a peek here, for example, this is a really great heat map that illustrates where pockets of density are, and not only that, where the providers are that serve them. A Zillow for clinical trials is not out of reach. It's really close possibility, and we can use tools that provide visualizations of where the realtors, in this case, the healthcare providers are. And lastly, number 4, be a good neighbor. Bring the $8 cookies, the welcome wagon, the $8 cookies, and the fancy tea towels. Didn't find my home. They didn't make equitable housing laws. And you know what? They don't pay my mortgage. But what they did do, they made me feel welcome. Later, our property was damaged, and our neighbors not only repaired our mailbox, they restored my faith in our neighborhood. Our realtor helped us find a home. Our neighbors, they helped us stay.